We're back. Bo Thompson, Brett Winterble. We could not get enough of Talktoberfest 2021, so we're back for round two.
It is good to be here with you, Bo Thompson, as we cross the streams for the third time of the day.
That's right. We can't cross the streams enough, and so I'm excited to be here because I guess we're the first two that can talk about what we did last time, which was experience something. And I've been around here for a while, as you know, Brett. I don't experience things on this radio station for the first time very often, and so doing a live virtual follow up with listeners in a new venue is a cool thing. So we welcome everybody tonight. I see the comments already populating here, and you just got off the air a few minutes ago, seemingly. So you've made quite the turnaround. It's getting close to my bedtime, but let's have some fun for the next 2 hours.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a phenomenal time. Everybody's going to have a good time. We'll take plenty of comments, questions, concerns, all that stuff. Looking forward to it.
I was looking through the news this afternoon, and I think Mark Zuckerberg missed a big opportunity with this renaming of Facebook. Did you guys talk about this on your show? I heard.
No, I was going to, but I never did.
I heard the Bo Snerdley interview, which was fantastic. I knew
you.
It would be, but it was just awesome. I mean, it's always awesome hearing the behind the scenes stuff of EIB and what you did, but the camaraderie there. And if you didn't hear it this afternoon, I encourage you guys to go back and listen to, was it in the 4 o'clock hour? I think.
Yeah, it was 4 o'clock, 4 to 4:30, basically. Yeah, it was the 4 o'clock hour.
Well, and there I see Joseph just chimes in, says, I enjoyed your interview with James Golden. I concur. I was listening while I was doing my prep this afternoon. But what I was getting at is I think Facebook missed the opportunity to rename the company Ron Artest instead of Meta.
Yeah, Meta. That's right.
I can't think of anybody but Meta World Peace when I think of somebody renaming themselves Meta. So might as well just finish the deal.
It fits. Look, it fits. If there was malice at the palace, is there also malice in Silicon Valley? You see what I'm saying? And it would be fitting. Except Facebook doesn't want world peace. They want division and anger and all the ugliness. Every year about this time, I resolve I'm just going to quit all the social media, and then I don't do it. These reveals, and I'm sure you're as disturbed as I am. These reveals with the stuff with the anorexia and targeting kids and is really, really disturbing.
Well, and then on top of that, it's interesting. I was having a conversation with my daughter eating dinner tonight before I came over here, and we started talking about social media. And I was talking about Facebook, and she was talking about Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and all the stuff that's out there. And I just said to her, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine being a kid with all that noise. I mean, it is a lot of, you just think about, I mean, by the way, as we're talking here, I want to say hey to Michael and Terry and Sarah absolutely. And Catherine and Bill and some guy named Pete Callender.
Pete.
and Pete said what I said just a minute ago. Great chat with Mr. Snerdley today. It's just, look, I this is nothing you haven't heard before from me, Brett, but I think one of the many great things about you joining the team here a few years ago was your connection to that, and the fact that you came after the time of day. Of course, you filled in for Rush on several occasions, but doing the afternoon drive and coming out of that shift, WBT is privy to some stories that no other station in the country has, and it's because you are one of a select few people who actually were part of that production team. But
and it was funny because when I was back in DC a couple of weeks ago, who's broadcasting right across from me is Ken Matthews. Yeah, right. He's broadcasting on his station out in Harrisburg, but I say it all the time. The very first air shift I did on WBT as a fill-in was the day that Rush announced that he had the diagnosis. And, I got headphones in and I'm sitting in my apartment in San Diego, and he's making this announcement. And truth be told, I didn't think in a million years it would be what he had. I thought something had happened, something was going on, of a less than lethal, diagnosis, and it was shocking. It was shocking, and we went right into it and talked about it, and it is incredible. But James is an incredible guy, and he was the closest person to Rush, I think, of anybody. Kit was extremely close, but because James and Rush were both in Florida, Kit Mamone and I were in New York. He was extremely close to Rush, I think, in a lot of ways, and was with him for 33 years. I mean, that's a marriage. That really is a marriage.
Well, I heard you guys talking today, and he said at the end of the interview, you are the only one of the alums to actually turn around and host the show, which is quite. I mean, that when you think about that, I mean, and everybody who's lining up here, and we appreciate all of you all being here, but I feel pretty confident that most everybody here, or most people here in the chat room, were avid Rush listeners. It's a small select few that get to do what you did, and there's a reason why you got to do what you did. And for us to have you here, it's not lost on me what a unique connection it is going forward, both for listeners who loved that era and for the next, chapter after John Hancock. It's just in many ways, it's good to have you here, man.
It's great to be here. And let me say this, and I'm dead serious. What is it that Biden always says? Not a joke, not a joke.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal. Mommy, here's the thing. When when Mike Schaefer reached out to me and I had the opportunity to come here, there was no second ask. The minute I had the opportunity, I'm like 100%. You guys live in Charlotte your whole life, right? You understand the importance of WBT, but it's iconic out around the rest of the radio world. It's iconic. It's a 3-letter. It's one of the oldest stations. It's got a great reputation. And, Maine to Havana, you look at that and you get that opportunity. There's a reason why John Hancock's in that seat for 25 years. Right? I mean, so you have the opportunity, you jump at it because this is such an important station. And every day I'm so blessed, and I understand the value of what this station represents. And it kind of freaks me out sometimes. I mean, honestly, it's a pretty remarkable. I still get more butterflies doing WBT than I did when I was doing Rush. I mean, honestly. So,
well, and look, all of us who are on the air should get butterflies. If you don't get butterflies, then something's wrong, I think.
Right.
I mean,
it's true.
The responsibility, sitting in the chair, the people that have come before it, and that's one other great thing about you that I realized early on. I'm kind of the by default, and because I love the station, obviously, I'm the torch carrier. I'm the guy. I'm trying to get us to the 100 years, not finish line, but big milestone next year. And it's very important to me on behalf of all the people that have come before us to do this right and to give the station its due, celebrating a century. It's April 10th of next year. So those of you who are in the chat room, I hope you're saving that date and marking that down, because there's some big things that are planning. But we're on the cusp of something that not many stations ever are able to say, that they've been around for 100 years. But I noticed that about you. And look, I've seen a lot of people come through here. And I can name a lot of people that have done afternoon drive over the years and many different shifts. It's not everybody that comes in and buys in and wants to embrace what this station's history is all about. And not everybody has to. You can come in here and be very successful and live on an island essentially and do your thing. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying, as a guy who grew up working for this station and loving it like I do, I obviously gravitate towards and hope that we can attract people who when they're here are all in on everything this station is. And you are that, and then you're filling in for Rush Limbaugh at the same time. And it's just it's a unique, I'm about to say crossing of the streams, but I'll say aligning of the stars that we got you here. Let's see. Angie says, say hello to me too. Angie, we see you. Thank you for being here. And Jerry texted me earlier today or tweeted, and I'm happy to say this. I'm not happy to say they need help, but I'm happy to be able to shine some light on this. And I'm going to reach out to Tony Marciano, who's the head man over at the Charlotte Rescue Mission. But They are well behind on their Thanksgiving box collection. And this obviously because of the supply chain issues. And we keep hearing all the stories, Brett, about Thanksgiving dinner is going to be more expensive and get your holiday shopping done early and all that stuff. But the Charlotte Rescue Mission every year tries to feed as many people as they can for the holidays. So Jerry reached out to me earlier today and said, do you know about this? And I said, no, but I know Tony Marciano really, really well. He comes on the show a lot. We had this big CLT Hope, City of Hope last year with David Chadwick and Tony and several others. And so I will most certainly relay this on the air and try to get Tony on. But those of you who are watching on Facebook Live tonight, Charlotte Rescue Mission could use your help even earlier than normal and probably in a bigger way than normal this year.
And look, it's incredible the way the generosity of the audience works, especially here, because we had the bikes for kids last Christmas. We had we've had a number of efforts in which we help out in the community. That's one of the things I love the most about the station, because as hard as times are, people are incredible. As a country, we're incredibly generous people, but this community is extremely generous, and I think that's a huge testimony to what folks are made of here, and I think it's really awesome.
So I see this here as well, and I don't mean to have this dominate the conversation tonight, but while we're talking about the 100th anniversary I mentioned a few minutes ago, so we are planning a large celebration, as well we should. Details about that are going to be out soon. I'm one of those who are spearheading this effort, along with our program director Mike Schaefer and our management team here. But there are going to be some announcements made in the next. There's going to be a big one in November, and then some more information in December, and some stuff in the works that I wish I could say, but I can't yet.
Ooh,
but very excited.
This is secret stuff.
This is going to be the century celebration that this radio station deserves. So I saw Pete post a save the date 4/10/2022. Please do, and more to come on that.
All evens 4/10/22.
That's right.
Love it.
That's right.
That's the way to go. I want to tee up a question to you, Bo Thompson, and it's this, because people ask me this all the time. You get up very, very early to do your show, and you are unbelievably prepared, and you're able to dissect the stuff that's come in the overnight, make sense of it, make it relevant to the audience. Are you somebody that when you go home at night, you're watching a bunch of news? Are you trying to decompress a little bit? How do you go about sort of your preppage there on a regular basis? Because you are unbelievably well prepped, and your guests are second to none.
Well, right back at you. I mean, it's a weird shift, I mean, I walk past and see people in the hall here coming in, and they say, "Oh, it's past your bedtime," and you talk about taking a nap. I'm not a napper. Maybe I should be. Maybe when I get a few more years down the road, I'm going to turn around and say, "Man, I wish I'd nap more." But I can't. I just have a hard time with it, because I know people who can take like a power nap, like the 15 or 30 minute or even an hour. I can't do it. If I go down for a nap, if I'm not out cold, it doesn't do much for me. And then if I am out cold, then I'm out for a while, right?
Yeah.
So I was having this conversation with somebody last week at one of my son's soccer games. They're saying, don't you hate getting up so early? And I say, no, I hate going to bed early, because I want to watch Monday Night Football, and I want to watch the World Series, and I want to, and I say I want, sometimes I have to, like when the Panthers were on that Super Bowl run that year, 2015, I mean, I had to be able to get up the next morning and, dissect the whole thing. And a lot of times I do all the production work for my show too. So that's another part of the answer you just asked me, but going to bed at the right time is tough, because if you don't, then that's when you end up. I mean, there have been nights when the Panthers played on Monday Night Football where I slept for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
that's not healthy.
That's no way.
To make it up on the weekend. But as far as preparation goes, I don't know about you, Brett, but I'm always in prep mode.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like now that we have, now that we have these phones, little computers in our hand all the time, and sometimes it's a curse because you're too connected. Like sometimes you want to be to a place where people can't get to you, but as soon as I get off the air, my wheels are turning about the next day because I have, let's see, what is it? Well, I have 8-minute segments each hour. You and I both do 4 an hour. So you multiply that by 5. I've got to fix that and get ready that many segments each day. So my wheels are always turning. As soon as I get off the air, I'm decompressing. But if I turn on the radio or I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking, how could this be something we could talk about? And then if I'm I use my phone a lot to take screenshots if I see a story that maybe I'll come back to the next day. But
that's a good idea.
I get home, and that's one thing. Cell phone technology or smartphone technology is many things, but one of the things I love about at least the iPhone is, you can screenshot things, and it's like or take pictures of things. Mm-hmm. And I do that all the time. If I'm walking past the TV and I see a screen capture with some stats that I might want to talk about the next day, or I'm riding down the road and I see, a sign that I want piques my interest. I'm always sort of gathering that, and then I get home and I have kind of a rundown of, and I still do it in pencil. I don't type it. I like a pencil that I can erase and make changes, and it's a grid. And at about 1:00 in the afternoon, that grid is printed out, and then I fill it in for the next 8 hours.
Wow.
Not necessarily. I don't mean I'm sitting in front of the computer for 8 hours. My kids both play high school sports, so I have to inevitably this time of year, I'm going to a soccer game or a football game or basketball. My son's in Boy Scouts, and I help out there. So you live life, but with me, I've never been like sit down 2 hours or 3 hours, boom, I'm done. It's really around the clock, and I'm sure you're that way too.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm an early riser. I'm a relatively late to bed guy, but I'm an early riser. I like to dive into the early news and see what's kind of forming for the day, and then try to be prepared for our crossing the streams. And then I just jump around to a lot of different content throughout the day. I consume a lot. I consume sports, business channels, because you don't know where you're going to just get a great story that's going to come out of nowhere. Like the guy yesterday who lived on $150 a year. He eating at the amusement park in LA, because for $150 you got the pass for the year, and you got 2 meals a day as a result. And he's done it for like 7 years. All he does is eat amusement park food. And I'm like, that's a money story. That's a great story.
That sounds like a Mark Garrison story.
Yes, it did. Some of the food was disgusting. Some of it was just what he's describing that he eats is just, you're like, ugh, chicken balls covered in nacho cheese and like bacon, which
I see Matt Tollison chiming in here, says, nice studio, #engineering. That would be Matt Tollison, the son of Ron Tollison, legendary WBT engineer who really built the room I'm in right now and built the studio that we broadcast out of. And let's see here. Terry says, we all know of Beth Troutman's peanuts. What is your favorite interesting food? That is, I don't know how to top. I got to be careful. Not shelled peanuts, but peanuts in the shell.
Peanuts in the shell. Yeah, that's a hard one.
Let me think on that one. Maybe I'll come back around to that one.
I'll go with. You know what I started really liking to eat on the West Coast, and I'm not like a sushi guy, per se. Poke. I love poke. I haven't had it since I moved, but poke is a lot of fun. I like that. That's good stuff.
I don't even know what that is.
It's basically raw fish sitting on a bed of rice or noodles, and it's cold. It's a cold dish. And then you have seaweed and stuff like that. And it's all like, it sounds in the abstract, it's like disgusting, but it actually tastes really good. But that's probably my weirdest food that I like.
My brother likes scrambled eggs with ketchup on them, which I always thought was really weird. I'm a vanilla fanatic, meaning not really not figuratively. At least I hope that's not what people would say.
I thought that's what you meant. I was taking you at your word.
No. Like with my see, this is something I'm really frustrated about right now. This Coke Zero, I love this stuff. I don't drink coffee in the morning, So I drink a ton of this, but I really like when they came out with the vanilla Coke Zero and even the cherry vanilla Coke Zero. And they know this over at the Coke place in Charlotte because they always bring me stuff whenever I start waxing, which I appreciate. But trust me, I've contributed much money to the company over there, so I feel like I've done my part. But I put vanilla in this, and I put any kind of soft drink I drink. I actually have in the studio a little vanilla bottle. So
oh my gosh, really?
I don't know if that's weird. It's not like I think ketchup on eggs. I always thought my brother was strange. Let's see, scrambled eggs and ketchup is delicious. Says WBT Collective.
The collective likes the ketchup and the.
Mark says the crossing over segments are nice. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for sure.
It's one of my favorite times of the day. Now I tell you something funny in the afternoon. So I mean that sincerely. It's been, again, back to the whole point earlier of I've been at this radio station since I was 16. I've seen a lot of people come and go. A lot of people come and go. A lot of talented people come and go. But you don't hit it off with just everybody. And that doesn't mean you don't get along with everybody, but like you and I, from the very first time that I ever did a segment with you, I thought this is flows. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's we seem to sort of be on the same wavelength about, I'm not nearly as intelligent as you are, but seriously, I mean that wholeheartedly. I mean, you filled in for Rush Limbaugh. To be able to talk for 3 hours like that. I mean, they're not. So I mean that as
I take it in the, I get what you're saying. Sure.
Totally sincerely. But I lost my train of thought. Don't you love
you were saying about we hit it off early on.
Oh, we hit it off. And that's not, I don't take that for granted, but we hit it off. And they asked us to start doing these crossing the stream segments, and it kind of clicked. And the only thing that I have to be careful of is you asked me about, and they were asking me earlier about preparation. So I would say there's a time, definitely on Fridays. If you catch me on Fridays, I sort of, my weekend starts at 10 o'clock Friday morning.
Oh yeah.
So I go into this sort of, chill mode, and I sort of cut off from what's going on. So when you and I do our Friday afternoon segment, I have to jump back on and make sure I've reacclimated to what's happened for the last several hours. On a normal weekday, I'm pretty plugged in because I'm getting my show ready for the next day. But hopefully on Friday afternoon, I'm always like, oh boy, I hope he's easy on me and
well
and doesn't serve up. Let's break down that SCOTUS ruling earlier today.
Okay, but in fairness, we have to say this because everybody likes each other at the station, so nobody's really sandbagging. So
I do not like Brett Jensen.
No, I believe that. I want to believe that fully, but there's so much to like about him.
I'm the one who introduced the station management to Brett Jensen. So
wow,
I love Brett Jensen. I said you need to talk to this guy. You just, because Brett and you all have heard him, I'm sure, talk about his background. He's worked in media for a long time in various ways, but I guess what 5-6 years ago, Brett and I were friends from an earlier when I was working in TV, and then he was a free agent, and I had just gotten reacclimated here, and one of the first guys other than John Moore that I went to management and said, you need to talk to this guy. I just sit down and eat lunch with him. We've got to find a place for him here because all these years later, I think that's been advice well taken. But no, I love Brett, and I think Brett. We have two Bretts, and Brett Jensen has brought an edge and a feistiness and a guy who's not afraid to go out there and get in people's faces that that's not something we've had much. I'm not saying we've never had it, but as a reporter, like a bulldog reporter, that's been a huge boon to our newsroom over the last 3 or 4 years. So
for sure.
Big fan of both Bretts.
Yeah. And well, thank you. And the thing is, so we do try to collaborate a little bit across the spectrum here when we're doing stuff. So like, I'm not going to sandbag you. You're not going to sandbag me by and large. Right.
Right.
And so be like, hey, did you see this? Or what do you think of that? But what happens is, just to go behind the scenes, typically in the morning, because I'm hyper caffeinated, I guess. What happens is we'll just start and then we'll go down some pathway. And it's just like, woo. Usually if Jensen's there or Beth, we will go, or Zoki, and we will go down some other road, which is actually always kind of funny, I think.
Well, and especially in the afternoon, I always feel like I can localize things for you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
When something comes up that that you haven't been privy to, like you can go on EIB and talk about national issues all day long. Well, when something happens and there's city council historical precedent, I always, that's where I feel like, especially in the afternoons when something local's hitting that maybe you just haven't been here to know some of the perspective on, I can provide that sometimes. And
yeah, definitely.
And then there are days where we talk about just stuff that we both like. I mean, there's a reason why, all the movie references that we come back to are really around the same era. So Sandy says Al Gardner was a foodie too. Yes, he was. Will he be part of the century celebration? I don't know. Al is living in Philadelphia now. He's retired, and Al is in the category of one of those people, and there are going to be some like this for the anniversary celebration that we'll absolutely reach out to. And I'm in communication with him. He preceded me on the morning show. I hope so. He'd be one of those that's far enough away that I'm not sure, but I'm going to try to get him here. Like I'm going to try to get a lot of people here. Let's see. I saw another one here that was,
I like this comment from Russell Brown, who says, Panthers bring back Cam Newton. We go to the Super Bowl ? Bo Thompson.
Well, I don't know that I think Cam Newton's the answer, but I don't know that I think Sam Darnold is. The one thing that strikes me about Cam Newton is that no one's taken a flyer on him yet. No one has. There are other teams other than the Panthers that could have, like the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they got what Geno Smith.
Yes.
There are a few other teams. I thought it was interesting when Cam was let go in New England by Belichick. They could have kept him around even to be sort of the support for was it Mac Jones? That's who they're
Mac Jones. Yep.
And I heard rumblings that they didn't want to do that because Cam would be too much of a presence, a dominating presence in the background for this rookie quarterback. Whatever it is, Bill Belichick decided I'm not going to keep him on the roster. So I don't know. I mean, Belichick is legendary and liked what Cam did for him to a degree last year. But the fact that no one has taken a chance on Cam yet makes me wonder what we don't know, behind the scenes or whether he just, can't cut it anymore. But look, I don't know what the answer at quarterback is right now. I mean, I think Sam Darnold certainly deserves the benefit of the doubt. We'll see what he does in Atlanta this weekend. But I mean, Brett, I could have foreseen us losing to the Giants, but not that way.
Well, the disturbing thing was at one point the score was 5-3, which is it's a baseball score. And I'm looking at this going, what the heck happened here? But look, in fairness, and I'm a fair-minded guy when it comes to sports. I mean, I have teams that I root for, but I'm honest about what I see in other teams. McCaffrey's out; he's hurt. I mean, that's a huge weapon for you.
Yeah.
The defense for the first 3 weeks were just maniacs, man. They were awesome, and then some guys got hurt, and that's the tough thing about this right now. I mean, injuries will hurt you. But we're not even halfway through the season yet.
Yeah, and a lot can happen. I mean, 4 weeks ago, a month ago, Panthers were 3-0, and people were talking about Sam Darnold. He had more rushing touchdowns than any QB in the league, and everybody was saying it was just a matter of a change of scenery. And now, 4 weeks later, some people are saying we'll never win a game again.
Right.
It's a long season. It doesn't feel very good right now. I think the bigger story is the Hornets. And I was talking to Zoki about the fact that I again, like I said, having lived here all my life, I remember when the Hornets started in 1988. This week they started out 3-0, and that's the first time ever that they've been 3-0, which seems crazy to me. They've had decent teams before, so I don't know at 3-0 starting the season, or now it's 4-1 now. But this town's a fun town when the Hornets are good, and they haven't been real good in a long time.
Look, I'm a NBA guy. I like the NBA. I follow all sports. You know, I think it's great to be in a town that respects sports heritage, like Charlotte respects basketball, respects football, respects, those sports, even baseball, obviously. You have to click, man. It's just it's a chemistry. It's literally a chemistry, and it's a lot of luck. It's a ton of luck. And that's a really, really important thing to kind of think about. This is an interesting question up top here. Is it Cecil Rogers? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
CSCL Rogers. I see that one. Yeah.
CSCL. Probably too serious of a question. Both of you are quite the optimists and very good at taking the news of the day and informing us. But are either of you actually concerned about one particular issue that you can share, maybe as citizens, parents, or community members? Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I'll take a swing. I am extremely concerned about what is happening with this fentanyl epidemic. You have got kids losing their lives every day, and maybe they shouldn't be buying drugs. They shouldn't be, coming into contact with stuff that's not prescribed to them or whatever. But we have seen an explosion of people dying because of fentanyl. I had an expert in the DEA on with me a couple of weeks ago, and he said, if you take a salt shaker and you pour out the salt shaker, right, and you get 4 grains of salt, of actual just table salt, two grains of that salt, if it's fentanyl, can kill you. Two grains. And so these traffickers are bringing this stuff in. It's everywhere. I'm very worried about this because to me, it feels like we're being targeted on purpose by adversaries around the world. And I don't want to see this generation of kids harmed or killed. And so the fentanyl epidemic, heroin, fentanyl, drugs in general are horrible, obviously, but fentanyl is it's a uniquely awful tragedy that's unfolding in our country. So that would be the thing. As a parent, I have a teenager in high school, and I have a late teen who's in college as a sophomore. So I'm worried about that big time.
So I would say that what concerns me is sort of on the same wavelength. It's about kids, but it involves parents too. But I have 2 high school age kids. Brett's been reporting on the weapons and the violence that started off the school year. I mentioned a few minutes ago about, social media. Again, honestly, when I peruse social media, a lot of times it's the parents' actions on social media that shock me more than the kids. Kids are still, I mean, I sound like a broken record when I say it's just got to be such an added layer to be growing up as an adolescent, and even before that, and have everything that goes on reacted to on your phone and pictures on the phone. And parents have to make a decision about whether or not to let them on TikTok or Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram. So to grow up in the middle of that, but the older I get, my kids play sports, we have let them over time gradually have phones and then have certain apps on their phones, but they have to demonstrate to us that they can be responsible with those apps. And there are different apps you can actually get that can monitor those things. And I'm not a helicopter parent, but I'm also not a here, take the phone and do your thing with it. That would be irresponsible too. But we've seen the violence in the schools in the last several months, the suicides, up at Chapel Hill, and then some stories out of Charlotte here. I just feel like kids growing up right now have added things to deal with that you and I didn't. And I think sometimes parents, and I am not perfect. None of us are. But what I'm saying is, I'm on the air 5 hours a day. Bob Lacey used to work in this building, and Bob was sort of the same way that I am as far as when the mic turned off. Bob didn't talk a whole lot. He's like an introverted, extrovert on the radio and introverted outside of that. When I'm off the radio, I don't know about you, Brett, but I like to do a lot of listening. I am often, if you go to a game or you go to an environment, I'm usually the quietest guy there. And sometimes people don't know me, say, "You're on the radio?"
Yeah.
And I guess I just sort of, I feel like I do my thing there, and somebody else can talk when the microphone's off, but I do a lot of observing, and sometimes the way parents conduct themselves, and that can be unruliness sometimes at sporting events. Sometimes that's, posting things on social media.
Oh, yeah.
I think adults, a lot of times we criticize kids and we talk about what kids do. Kids' brains aren't fully formed yet.
That's right.
And a lot of times we forget that, but adults are. And sometimes I think all of us, every one of us, could do ourselves in society a service and have a little more self-awareness.
I agree 100%. Early on into the social media foray, right? So my wife is very guarded about privacy, especially for our kids. Like, you will not see pictures of my kids, of our kids, on any of my social media. I don't put any pictures of my kids on any of my social media, and she doesn't either. And the reality is, there are people who will put stuff on there where you're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with that picture? Your kid is in a bathing suit, and you don't know who's looking at that page. I mean, you just, no idea, rando stalker, right? I mean, whatever. And so we have a lot of pet pictures. We put pet pictures up, there's Fifi and Fido and whatever, but that's not really their names. But, privacy is hugely important, and I'm one thing I really am grateful for, and in the way you talk about your kids. I know how proud you are of your kids, and you're clearly a great dad, and I'm sure Mrs. Thompson's an amazing mom. I'm so happy your kids play sports. My kids both involved in activities that were sports and sports-like stuff. That is, I think, the most important grounding measure, because the reason why you have them do sports, or even if you want to be in the drama club or the debate team, an extracurricular that requires accountability is hugely important. You got to be at a place on time. You got to show up and be responsible for your performance. You got to do. That's how you form kids. I mean, you model it at home, but that's your little test runs, or these sports teams and activities.
When I was growing up, we had some next door neighbors that my parents, in years since I've become an adult and I've had conversations about parenting, they've told me that their neighbors growing up to our right, first, I think, 7 or 8 years of my life, that couple that lived next door raised 3 kids. And I remember them growing up, and I remember my parents being, always talking and seeking advice from the parents, and commenting on how well the kids turned out. And they did. I mean, everybody in that family went on to do. I mean, and so in years past, my dad would tell me, I asked him one time, what's the secret? Your kids turned out so well. What would you recommend? And he said, well, very simple. Keep them busy.
Yeah.
and that doesn't, I mean, that can mean sports, or that can mean scouts, or that can mean,
absolutely,
a dance, it can mean anything. But the whole point is, keep them doing something. They may not always like it, but the whole point is, when you're a kid, is to figure out what you do like, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
But that always stuck with me. Keep them busy.
Yeah, it's hugely important. And what you're teaching them is the positive influence. I mean, Coach Doherty would be perfect to be in this conversation with us right now, but I think you're introducing them in an appropriate way to accountability to their peers too. So it's not just that you're trying to make mom and dad proud, but you owe something to your teammates. Like, we come in every single day. One of the things I'm very proud of and honored that I got to be a part of here at the station was our COVID coverage that we did when we would come in on Saturdays or other times as the stories were moving. And then we did riot coverage during the George Floyd riots that were taking place. And I mean, we all stayed up on a Saturday night until about 2:30 in the morning, I think, doing coverage of that. We got an award for that. Mm-hmm. But all that is because we are all accountable. Like we're a team. And that's a hugely important thing as you go through life, is to be a respectful team member.
Well, that was a great. Now, understand the context of which I say this.
Yes,
it wasn't a great day subject matter wise,
right?
But it was a great day for me personally. Having working here, seeing what I would say is our team of the future, right? Now, unfortunately, little did we know that we were about to settle into a year plus where we couldn't all be together, and we still sometimes can't all be together. There are protocols, and I'm sure there are in any business, about how many people can be in the same room at once. And now we have, masks required in some places too. But I remember the day you're talking about, and you're right. We won a state award for the coverage that day. But I remember looking around when I first got here, started working full time. I was a producer on Al Gardner's morning show, which we talked about Al a bit earlier. And one of my favorite things to do, it's why I think I love election night now. But when he got here, Al had been around the block, been a newsman in many, many markets, Atlanta, Detroit, Florida, you name it. He'd been around the block. And we used to do these election nights, and we would have, it was all hands on deck. And when I say all hands on deck, that's, 6 people in the studio, 4 more people in the field, people on the phone.
Yes.
And there, for a while, that was the way it was here. And then as time went on, we got away from that. And I'm not saying, sometimes it's because different people want to do different things. You have different management who have different philosophies. But when the COVID coverage, the COVID outbreak happened, that Sunday, I remember that Sunday, and then we did a few more after that. But we had you and me and Vince and Jensen and Garrison and all the producers and Gillespie. And I remember I looked around and I thought, this is how it's supposed to be. This is WBT, together, and all systems go, all pulling the chains in the same direction. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because I think when a hurricane hits, Hurricane Hugo in 1989, COVID-19, 9/11, when the officers were shot back in the was it 2007 ish, that's when people turned to this radio station. And it's interesting, Pete Callender's back here now doing noon to 3. Pete cut his teeth here. He was at WRHI in Rock Hill, and then I think they realized there that Pete had bigger fish to fry, and then he arrived in Charlotte, and he made his mark covering the Ray Carruth trial back in what was it, 1999. And and then Pete obviously went on to host a show here and then left, and now is back. But infusing Pete into that mix, this station is equipped again. And when you've been around 100 years, you go through different eras, right? This station is equipped again now. When something like COVID happens, we've got all the pieces. And when you put them all together every once in a while in the studio, it's a beautiful thing to watch and listen to.
Yeah, without a doubt. Are you able to see the shot okay there, Bo Thompson?
Did you see what happened? You know what happened? I was looking at the side screen, and I thought that was Josh, our producer, coming in. It's Jensen.
He's been summoned.
Did you hear what I said a while ago? Is that why you're here?
I got my name mentioned, and next thing I know, somehow, some way, through magic or some alternate power, I'm on screen now.
Well, go ahead and tell him, Brett Winterble. I was saying positive things about you.
He was saying very positive.
No, I heard about the coverage and how we won awards, and no, I appreciate that.
That night you were out in the middle of the tear gas that night. Did you get bottle rocketed too, Brett? I forget. What was
it was tear gas. It was pepper spray bullets.
Jeez.
Basically, nearly got accosted and had to scurry quickly to a whole line of cops. Just because a lot of people were upset at the media. And so that night, but yeah, that was, I still, to this day, I regret saying one particular thing on air. And it was literally the first
just
5 minutes that Bo and I were on air. And it was 5 minutes literally after the first round of tear gas went off. And of course, we're live radio. And Bo had to take over because I couldn't talk. I was coughing and I couldn't talk for a couple of minutes because I was right in the middle of it. And the first words that came out of my mouth when I got like my whereabouts and everything, the first thing I said was, "Man, tear gas sucks." I don't know why
but
said that.
Look, it's true.
You're the only person who would say that, and that's good because we need someone who would say that.
That's right.
That would be weird for me to say that. By the way, somebody just said, "I like your Brett's look is nice, but that's classic Bo." I hope that's a good thing.
Look at that. Yeah, baby.
But I said earlier before you got here, I said Brett Jensen has brought an edge to our newsroom, and Brett Jensen is that guy that will go out and get in people's faces if need be and ask questions that are uncomfortable. And I'm not saying that's never happened on our news team, but in this era right now, you're that guy. And I know a lot of people appreciate that. And so I remember that night. The other thing I remember about it is right after you did that, I found myself on the air going, "All right, Brett, take us through what it's like to inhale tear gas." And I thought to myself, what alternate universe am I living in? But I actually, as bizarre as it was, I mean, look, how many people out there in Radioland do you think actually had experienced that firsthand? What you were saying was something that you don't hear every day.
Well, I remember the question, and I remember my answer, and I still think it's a pretty good answer. Here we are a couple of years, or removed, and I think it was a good answer. What I said was, imagine in a room full of smoke while chopping and dicing the world's largest onion. You're coughing,
yep, I remember,
and you can't stop crying.
Oh gosh.
Well, and then of course, I was saying earlier, Brett, that I'm the one who essentially brought you to the table here. Said told management you got to talk to this guy. I think I did that twice, and it finally stuck. But and I remember saying to you 2 or 3 years ago. So we gotten Brett into the mix, and I told the management at the time, just sit down and talk to the guy because I think he's got so much to bring. I mean, he's the only guy that I've ever known who hosted a show on FNZ too. I mean, Brett's obviously got a big sports background, but I'll never forget. So we've been moving in that direction for so long, and then they finally hired Brett, and I say finally, they had to. It's not because they didn't want him; it's because things had to work on both sides. But I remember literally the day of, they sent him to Wilmington to cover, what was it, Hurricane Florence, I think.
Yep.
And
wow.
Brett was there for the next at least week, and this was the worst hurricane to directly hit the coast in a long time. And there I am talking to Brett I remember I talked to you in the hotel room, and I said, "Brett, you might want to close the door. It's really blowing." And he said, "Bo, the door is closed. That's how loud it is outside with the hurricane force winds." And I'm thinking to myself, there's Brett. He's in a hotel room in Wilmington with no power. And I'm the guy who essentially is the reason why he's sitting there.
Well, I mean, I've said this story on air before, but I was hired September 10th. I filled out all my paperwork Monday, September 10th, 2018. September 11th, that Tuesday, I watched all the sexual harassment videos and HR videos and all that stuff for Intercom. And then literally I walk in Wednesday morning, September 12th, at like 9:30 a.m. Mike Schaefer, the program director, says, "Hey, how quickly can you get to Wilmington?" It was literally the first words out of his mouth, and it was the first assignment I ever had for WPT. And it was a perilous week, to say the least, especially even trying to get home. So, but yeah, it was so yeah, we were off and running, and it's been that way ever since.
Shout out to Jensen from Sandy May, who says, "Kudos to Jensen for bird dogging CMS. They've gotten a free pass for most of the 30 years I've lived in Charlotte."
Well, Bo, everything that you and I talked about this morning concerning the art class pictures, I just put them all out there on Twitter in case anyone wants to see. But I did put up a a warning, adult content, explicit images. I did put that up there as well.
That was about you or the pictures?
Funny.
Well played. Nicely.
Thank you very much.
I figure I've complimented you enough. I've got to go back in the other direction now. Starting to feel weird, feel strange. Let's see. I want to go through a few more of them here. I saw one a minute ago, and Brett Jensen, love pictures of your wild vacation and listening to you on the radio too. Jensen has got a new video series that he has started with his exploits in Chernobyl, whatever that means. And but also, as he broke the news this morning on my show, I don't know if you know this, Winterble, but Jensen has been asked to be a guest lecturer for it's a high school, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
high school. It's a fairly large high school in Belmont called Stuart Cramer High School, and they've asked me to be there Monday. So I'll be there Monday for like the science classes and pretty much most of the senior student body. I have to give a presentation about Auschwitz and Chernobyl and everything else while using video aid, pictures and videos and everything else like that. So that will be Monday morning, I think at like 10:30 is when
Holy
I'm
cow.
scheduled to start. I know.
Well, holy cow.
I know.
I note that that's in Belmont.
Yep.
Not Charlotte Mecklenburg schools.
No, it's not. No, they don't have guns, so it's okay.
Whoa. Shots fired.
Bob Gray.
Literally and figuratively.
Bob Gray says, I hate to see October end. What am I going to do Thursday night now? Back to Mark Levin, I guess. Well, so here's what I would say, Bob. I don't think this is going to be the last time we do these things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Talktoberfest is ending tonight, but I know for a fact that our fearless leader, Mike Schaefer, wants to do an in-person gathering at some point with all of us, like we did. I think the last one we did was when Hancock retired a few years ago at Cantina 1511, where we all got together. We're going to try to build towards that, but this won't be the last Facebook Live we do until next October. I think I can pretty confidently say that. So,
wait a minute.
Winterble told me that he would be willing to do this every Thursday night going forward. So.
Wait. I want to go back to Bob Gray for a minute. Bob Gray with that question about Levin.
He agreed to do it with Mark Levin every Thursday night.
Well, let me say something here. I got a copy of the Constitution right here, pal. You want to come in here and you want to take a shot at me? You think I haven't fried bigger fish than you? I'm going to tell you something right now. The Second Amendment is my friend, and so is the 10th. And you got to read my book, Fighting Communism, a manual for Brett Jensen's love life. It is. Let me just say this.
I got a soundbite. Go.
Who the hell goes to Chernobyl?
Mr. Engineer.
Who goes to Chernobyl?
Mr. Engineer, go.
You'd be wrong.
You
are a
excellent.
Socialist.
That is well done. Very well done. Like that's.
I'm gonna call a show one day.
I'm
gonna call a show one day, and I'm gonna be him to him.
You should go for Mark Levin as Halloween on Halloween.
Do you guys know how many times John Moore has called network shows? Seriously, John Moore, who is my producer in the morning, and he and I have worked together for decades. John Moore, he doesn't do it as much as he used to, but John Moore, back in our early days here, it was his goal to get on these network shows. And there was a guy named Lionel who used to have a show one time that they put John in his show open. John, he tried to get through to Rush, but never did, but got on with Walter E. Williams one time.
Yeah.
But he tried to get on with Bob Brinker, that did Money Talk for all those years on the weekend. But if you ever hear Steve from Gastonia, that's all. I'll just leave it at that.
It is so funny to see how radio people love calling radio shows. Like that's just the greatest. It's just the greatest thing in the world. If you can get in and you can mouth off, what happened to Jensen? Did he leave? I think he fell out of his chair.
Boy, all right. That was an abrupt exit. What did we say?
You know what? I think somebody was knocking on the door. I think he's like, I gotta go.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Do we want to know what happened?
I gotta see how much battery power I had left. So I just went to go check my battery, and it took me off.
Plug it in.
Yeah, well,
My God.
I gotta move my wine cooler to do that. My wine thing. So
They wine cooler.
yeah, I got a wine fridge.
Wait, a wine fridge or a wine cooler fridge?
Well, a wine fridge. I got a wine fridge. I got a wine fridge for a white wine, and I got a wine fridge for a red wine.
What? Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
That's pretty impressive.
Let's see what we got here.
I'm trying to build you up as this, bulldog ask anything question, and you're talking about wine coolers.
Yeah, see.
I think I'm going to have a white wine spritzer today.
I'm going to have a Boone's Farm.
Boone's Farm. What kind of wine you got there, Brett? Blue. It's blue.
Franzia. The box kind.
Hey, have you, Bo? I want to ask you a question, and then I want to ask Brett a question. Bo, have you embarked upon your Thanksgiving shopping yet? Have you gone out and gotten the turkey because there won't be any turkeys? I mean, have you started stockpiling and prepping?
I don't even know what day Thanksgiving is this year.
It's a Thursday.
Well, I know that. But what's the date? How many weeks do I have?
I think it's the 25th. I think it's isn't it the 25th of November? I think it's the 25th.
Well, we have these fancy computers in our palm of our hands now.
Have you done your Thanksgiving shopping, Brett?
No. For the 8th straight year, I'll be eating Thanksgiving in a restaurant.
Wow.
Which one?
Usually, be honest with you, usually we go to Harper's right here in South Park. It's really good. So that's usually where we go. Although I've been to Del Frisco's a couple times, but usually it's Harper's.
See, there I was looking at my phone, and then people on the chat, I should have just looked up here. It's the 25th. That's when Thanksgiving is.
Oh, okay.
It is.
I have I don't even. I guess the only thing I'd buy for Thanksgiving would be the meal, right? That is the turkey. That's what everybody keeps talking about, how much more expensive the turkey is this year. I have not. I would not know because I haven't bought mine yet.
You need a baster and you need a twine.
Have you ever fried a turkey?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing in the world to do. I mean, when it involves cooking.
You know,
that wasn't a joke.
You notice the trajectory since Jensen joined us here? Mike Schaefer's at home going, this wasn't part of the deal. Jensen was supposed to be last time.
Josh, go ahead and move Levin off the grid. Put us up right now. If your radio sounds funny tonight, you're listening to Talktoberfest tonight.
Oh, wait. This is the post of the night. Roger Masters. Brett will be having wild turkey.
No, but the twine and a baster, that's date night.
Have you charged up your black light yet, Jensen?
Yeah, there are so many times where I wish I knew him in high school.
Can you imagine? It must have been incredible. Watch this. Ready? Brett, have you ever seen the outfield in concert?
No, actually, I have not.
Have you seen Steve Perry solo?
I have not.
Yet.
No.
Motley Crue?
I have.
Huey Lewis in the News?
I have. Saw him in Philadelphia at the
4 times.
4th row seats.
4 times, baby.
4 times?
Just the once was enough.
No. Well, maybe, and I don't know if it's ever going to be 5 because Huey has got got hearing issues now.
That's a shame.
Although I just saw him, he was overseas like last week. They did some sort of British Back to the Future reunion, and he showed up for that. So I don't know if that was just an appearance, but
Jensen, what do you have coming up story-wise tomorrow? What are you watching closely and carefully in the next 24 hours?
Well, I'm wondering if CMS is ever going to get back to me about those photos. Let me know how that happened, how it was actually put on on Canvas. Sorry, I'm getting ready to plug in my phone. How it was plugged in or how it was put up on Canvas, and so still waiting on that. But I will just tell you, there are some big things in the works, some big projects that I'm working on. And I can tell you that every single one of them involves CMS.
Wow.
And like some of them are kind of big, pretty big.
But what are you watching in terms of a story that's kind of moving that you're kind of keeping an eye on these days?
I'm sorry. I'm looking through the chat questions here.
Oh,
that's
all good.
No, well, I'm certainly interested in. I'll be interested in this weekend. I mean, this is just
Sure.
one that's been on my. And I talked to you about this morning, but over the next week, we're going to see what influence President Biden has on the electorate. Virginia, for example, New Jersey, for example, and we're going to see what former President Trump, what his effect may be. I'm fascinated by this President Trump appearance at the World Series game on Saturday night. That is going to be quite the scene. President Trump going back to the state that, and this is this other thing that's been, percolating over the last few days about how the Braves are in the World Series and now the World Series is coming to Atlanta this weekend. And, oh, by the way, remember when Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta? President Trump, I was saying to you this morning, I was at that stadium Saturday night. First time I'd ever been there, but one of the things that struck me was it's a lot smaller than where the Braves used to play. Most stadiums are going smaller these days than getting bigger. They're going smaller with more amenities, right? So the people that pay for seats there pay more for the suites and for the luxuries they get, and so they can afford to not make these places as big as they used to be. What I'm getting at is that Saturday night you're going to have the commissioner of baseball there. You're going to have President Trump there. I wonder who else will find their way. I wonder if the governor of Atlanta will be there. That's one I haven't heard, but this is going to be the place to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in the first World Series in Atlanta since 1999, and you're going to have some star power there, and that will be the first inkling of what the next week may be like for President Trump. But I'm watching that story. That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, you know what? It also raises a question, because if the left wants to put their boycott money where their mouth is, I'm wondering when we do celebrity watching at that game, how many celebrities are still going to go buy that ticket, patronize the businesses? Because remember, once upon a time, everybody was told, don't go to Atlanta, don't go to Georgia because of that restrictive voting law, right? And it's going to be curious to see how many celebs are in the crowd too.
Well, what's happened with Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, the last day and a half, and now the left is bombarding him like the right did, because he came out the other day because the left was really upset by the use of the term Atlanta Braves, and also very upset because they were using the tomahawk chop. And so he came out and said that there's nothing racist about it, and that local indigenous Indian tribes and Native American tribes in the Atlanta area and Georgia area are okay with it. And then the left has just crucified him for saying that it's not racist. And so now he's going to be getting it on both sides.
Yeah, it's going to be something to see for sure. We'll see if the boo birds are out, right? That's it.
Well, I can't wait till they show President Trump sitting in the luxury box, because you know what's going to happen. They're all going to chant, "Let's go, Brandon."
Let's go, Brandon. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
I thought.
Oh, you wait for me to chime in with it?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
No, Jensen just said it, but my question is will Trump emerge from the box? Will he stay up there isolated, or will he walk out and do a wave to the crowd?
No, I think he'll stay in the box, but since he's not president, but I think he'll stay in the box. But I guarantee you that the in-house cameras will show him on the big screen
for sure. Also, the question is who's going to be in the box with him. That's going to be interesting.
I don't think Melania is a big baseball fan.
It may be somebody else. It may be a prominent politician. Maybe Herschel Walker's at the game with him.
Oh,
actually, that's probably exact. In fact, now that you say that, I'd be surprised if he's not. Why would he not be? This is a moment. U.S. Senate candidate, Georgia, Braves in the World Series. I mean, that's
a legend in his own right.
Yeah. And when we remember Herschel Walker at the RNC. Yep. That's another fascinating race that once that thing gets cooking with.
I'm hearing people chirping about it. I'm hearing people complaining about it. frankly. I'm not, but I'm hearing people that are not pleased about that matchup.
Just going through some of these comments again. We really appreciate everybody participating in this, and we've had a lot of great questions tonight.
Sure have.
It sort of has fallen off the rails since Jensen got here, but we're trying to. Oh, and Justin says if could DeSantis be in the box? Maybe this ends up being like a celebrity who's who.
Yes.
Of Trump friends in the box.
Oh yes, Greg Abbott's showing up. DeSantis.
Might be
Herschel.
Dennis Rodman.
That would be awesome. Who is that? Brett, who is that? Is that Kim Jong-un? What's he doing here?
Let's see.
Oh, okay.
I still remember when Bush Jr. When he was really upset about North Korea, and he called.
You mean George W. Bush?
Yeah, President Bush, and he called the previous dictator of North Korea. He called him a pygmy, and I went, "Oh my Lord!" He called him to the press. He goes, "And if that pygmy wants to," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
I'll never forget that. I don't know why. I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
So I'm going to preemptively answer this question. So CSCL Rogers says, elaborate, Brett, on Herschel's Senate race. So I've talked to a couple of people who are concerned that Herschel's going to get hit with every kind of ugly sort of thing that you can possibly hit him with, and that may ultimately, create some kind of pushback. I don't know that that's the case, but I'm just saying what it is that I've heard. And these are people who are who are sort of in that universe of political strategist types, those people. So it's not me channeling my opinion. It is somebody that I was talking to in the last 3 or 4 days that was raising that issue with me, saying that he's got to be ready for what's coming his way because they're going to fight totally dirty.
Hey, Brett, I read something that Purdue might get in. Is that right?
Sonny Purdue?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, the problem is you don't want to have too many people get in that race. I mean, you don't want to spend all your money and your energy fighting that off early. I mean, we all remember 2016 and Ted Cruz going to the convention and was going to thwart President Trump back then. Then candidate Trump, I should say.
And then they became best friends.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. I mean, this is going to be an interesting time.
Well, this has been an interesting time.
It has.
I had no idea that Brett Jensen was going to show up and crash it, but I think I've had fun. I've had fun with the crashing. It's been almost like an hour with Beth Troutman.
Oh, well, thank you for comparing me to Beth.
No.
We have the same wardrobe, so that's good.
Well, no, see, what I mean by that is I'm always planned for something. We were talking about planning earlier in the show, and I think the best kind of radio is when you have plans, but you are working with people that can take you down other roads, and you're fine to do that. I feel that way with both you guys. I feel that way with Beth. That's the best kind of radio, right? You don't want to go in with no plan, but you want to go in with the flexibility to be able to go down. And that's the beauty of what we're doing right now. We have talked for over an hour here, and a lot of it's been in real time based on what you have been talking about in the chat rooms there. So thanks to everybody who has participated tonight. I think we've hit just about all the questions here. Can the Braves win this? Absolutely. The Braves will win this. Let's see. Anything else before? No peanut eating with the shell on no, it's
a good point. That's a very valid point. I would like to take this opportunity to endorse nougat. Nougat is perfectly good and delish. Black lights, nougat, turkey basters, and twine. Sounds like a law firm from hell, but it's a lot of necessity there.
Those are the words on my dating profile on Match.com.
You've got some. What do you got going on after this? See, I know not to ask Winterble that because he and I are both probably going to bed. But you, this is probably like the night is young, right?
I literally will be popping a Guinness in about 5 minutes. Take my dog out while I consume it, and then sit in and watch some football. Probably every single bit of it. The Cardinals and the Packers.
You're going to crack a Guinness, or you're going to crack another Guinness?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. All right. Well, look, I think I've been trying to make sure we get all the questions here, and I think we've probably hit a point where it makes sense to wrap this up. But look, we'll do it again. I love it. I love this trio. This has been fun. And Jensen, thanks for chiming in. I appreciate it. I didn't know it was going to happen, but it's been great, and we'll do it again in the future. Somebody said on here just a few minutes ago, Talkvember.
Talkvember, very good.
I said to Josh when we came in tonight, he said, "Oh, this is the last one, right?" And I said, "Wait a minute, you haven't heard about Talkvember?" And he kind of looked at me like, "What? Huh?" And I said, "Nah, I'm just kidding." But maybe maybe Talksember. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Look, and thanks to everybody who participated today. Thanks for everybody who's been in the past shows. Pete Callender's been in every one of these and showing his support too. Brett Jensen comes in as the closer, and Bo Thompson. I can't ask for anybody better than me to work with you. I mean, you to work with me. I mean, than you.
The pleasure's been yours.
And mine. Thank you very much.
Yes. And thanks to Josh, who's been producing this, Josh Vandenoord. Thanks to Mike Schaefer for conceiving of the idea. And of course, we had Vince Coakley participate in weeks past, and Mark Garrison as well. So it won't be the last time, but for now, everybody have a great night. We'll talk to you on the radio tomorrow. And again, as I said earlier, stay tuned for further details about the big 100th anniversary coming right around the corner.
Thank me very much.